today is someone that I've known for now a few years, Peter Cunningham, who has a multi-generational impact in this city, in this nation, and someone that I've gotten to really know his heart, how you empower people, how you set people up to win. And so it's just really good to have you here.
Yeah. Fantastic.
Yeah. I know some people know a little bit of your background, but just in a nutshell, tell us what you do and why you're passionate about what you do.
Fantastic. So primarily I'm a farmer and started off in commercial agriculture and then moved into creating value chains which unlock small scale farmers and link into the potential that they have, unlocking the potential of farmers across Matabeleland and Zimbabwe.
And we've seen you do that with hundreds of thousands of farmers, which has been really cool to see. A lot of people speak about hope. Where have you found where hope actually meets practicality, and what does that actually look like on the ground in Bulawayo?
Amazing. So for me, hope is a word that comes where we get into God's lane and where God's energy is. That's where I feel you've got human hope, and then you've got hope that we see in God. Yeah. And I have a real sense that God is moving in a phenomenal way across Africa, and that in a funny way, He's chosen Bulawayo, Matabeleland as one of the core igniting points to start a move like that.
Yeah.
So I have real hope that God is moving. He's called us into it, and that's part of the journey we're excited to be on.
And you have not changed your tone on that. That's been something you've consistently said. Why do you still choose to live in Bulawayo? Why do you still choose to do what you do in the city?
Amazing. So when I was 13 years old in Harare, Borodale, God told me that His call for me was to come to Matabeleland, to Bulawayo, and work with farmers here. At my mind at that stage, that was a really strange thing because farming happens in Blanket and Chinoy and important places like that. You know, Bulawayo is like your backwater of agriculture. So that was 13 years old, and I think that I've really seen God working in amazing ways. The people of Bulawayo are just incredible people, just open to hope and opportunity and ready to go. And I think along the journey, I was asking why was that, and did an interesting study on Israel. Matabeleland is 6 times bigger than Israel. It's got 1/4 of the population of Israel, and it gets 3 times the rainfall of Israel. But Israel is exporting food, and we're saying that we are needing World Vision or other people to come and feed us. And that was a massive paradigm shift. Why did God choose Israel out of all the nations in the Middle East, out of all the nations in the world? A little patch of desert with no oil, very little agricultural potential, one river, the Jordan River, running through it. And I think that God did that to show that it's His people unlocking nature, unlocking things that He works through. And that's really shown that, I think, to the world. And I really believe that God is going to do a similar thing in Matabeleland. So we thought Matabeleland was region 4, region 5, kind of the back end of agriculture. And suddenly you start to see, actually, it's the place that you can grow a lot of your highest value crops. It's a lot of the places where I think God can really move in an unprecedented way. And through what people are doing with nature and with themselves as communities, can showcase just the incredible God that we have and the incredible calling in life that He has for us. So I guess God called me here when I was 13. I didn't understand it. Through the journey, you started to realize, actually, God works in funny ways. He chooses the foolish to shame the wise, the weak to shame the strong. Why did He choose Bulawayo? Maybe because it was the weakest, but that's also where He can be and really move. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The legacy you have really touches all of Zimbabwe, Zambia, some parts of Southern Africa. Have you ever felt like you wanted to give up?
Desperately wanted to give up. So we've had, I think any business, especially business in Zimbabwe, has got pinnacles and troughs. We've been on the verge of bankruptcy at least 3 times. I've got an incredible wife. And 3 o'clock in the morning when you wake up, and your pillow is wet with sweat because you don't know how you're going to get through the next day, and you wake up and there's a lady there who just believes in you and says, we can do this, you know. So financially we've had massive troubles. With the communities, we've had incredible times where we saw what they could do, and then massive times of theft, of lies, of witchcraft, of sort of all the stuff that happens. I think working through that, you just think, is there hope? Is it worth persevering? And you get the sense of God saying, it's me and our hope is in him. And that encourages you to say, let's keep going. Yeah. An interesting part of that journey, just out of interest, is that we 2005, 2006 was probably one of our lowest moments. If you remember, at that stage, Zimbabwe was burning, everything was in chaos. And we had many of our communities, which had been really good, saw opportunities and started stealing, side marketing. And you just think, can you really work with this? Yeah. Had a sense of, we got to work through the church, and had honestly quite big disappointments with some of the sort of more religious experiences of church. And then had a real sense of God saying, it's the young people of Africa, it's the young people of Zimbabwe that are going to lead the narrative. Yeah. So that was where we started Ebenezer College, which is a discipleship training college, but shifted our sort of focus from
young people
to the young people. And that has been, so out of probably the worst thing where you want to give up the most, you see God moving and saying, that's the direction. And that's been a really fun and exciting journey. Yeah.
I appreciate you being so open and honest, because I think a lot of people can look at your success and go, well, is easy and it just comes overnight. And you've got a lot of young people that are maybe saying the same thing. Should I give up? Should I just throw in the towel? Should I leave Bulawayo? What would you say to young people that are struggling with those same questions and that same wrestle?
So my sense is that our anchor, our rock, is that we're in the place that God has called us to do, doing what God has called us to do. Yeah. And I think as soon as that anchor is there, you can be in jail like Joseph was. I've often wondered with Joseph, how did that guy stay positive? What was it that he still believed after even being lost for 3 years, forgotten about after the dreams? And he's still like a cheerful guy leading the thing, but that positiveness in a no-hope situation is what led him to being able for God to make him the second most powerful guy in the known world at that time. So my sense is for me is that is I dug back into, God has called me here. It's not about a nice lifestyle. It's not about money. It's not about success. It's even if I fail here, like I can't understand it. I can't see the way forward. I can't see how we're going to get through the next 3 months. But God has got a plan, and in our weakness, He can shine. So my experience and what I would say is, know that we're where God wants us to be, which often doesn't look like the place that the world says is success. The world says success is like a green card in America, a flying job in Europe. Actually, success is where God has made us to live and to be. So for me, being called here was a anchor rock that kept help us to keep going. Yeah.
And you kind of summarize in a way of saying it's not necessarily about what you do success-wise or what maybe the public sees, as much as it's about who you're doing it with. And if you're doing it with Jesus and He's got you here, then there's a reason for that.
Exactly.
And that's enough of an anchor.
Exactly. Yeah.
Which I think a lot of the young people, it's good to hear that.
Yeah.
When you think of, say, maybe some disappointments, when you look at Bulawayo and Matabeleland and you're like, man, I've actually been disappointed by this. What breaks your heart?
I mean, I think for me, Zimbabwe has slid into a hustling, trying to get what I can culture. Yeah. And I think that is just totally destructive, especially for young people. Get rich quick. I've got to have 3 jobs on the side. We have a saying that the eagle that catches 2 rabbits catches a grasshopper. And often people are going for 2 or 3 things. And you just think you're stressing yourself so much and you're actually not going for it. Yeah. So I think for me, that culture breakdown has been tough to watch, and tough to find a way to, how do we help people to recalibrate, because the whole of society is just running on that plane. So all of their friends, all of the people that they're with, it's a hustling, take what you can, live for today, have to be quick, get rich quick culture. And that's it's in a lot of our workforce, it's in a lot of our friends, a lot of our farmers. So that's probably been a tough thing to face. And I think that's a big spiritual battle that God wants to use to say there's an emptiness there and there's a fullness in finding my purpose, my peace, my plan, and just steadying in with that. Yeah.
And you would say it wasn't always like that, the hustle scarcity mindset.
So I think
Looking back on,
I mean, if I look back at our business experience and experience of our friends, I think somewhere between 2003 and 2010, that culture started to shift, probably with hyperinflation, with people, everything that they trusted just disappearing, systems that they trusted. And so people got into a cycle that I've got to get what I can while I can, if I can. And tomorrow, well, we'll work out tomorrow, you know?
yeah.
So I that culture definitely came in around that time, and I think has been reinforced and become a way of life since then.
It brings up a question because obviously there's a huge demographic in Bulawayo that is Christian, or at least on paper. Where do you feel like the church has missed it?
So, yeah, this is such a good question, and I think the church hasn't grappled with the depth of really trusting God over money as one of the big parts. So money, we often say, you can tell me what you want about what you believe in Jesus. How you handle money tells me what you really believe. And I don't think that we've addressed that correctly.
Say that one more time.
You can tell me what you want about what you believe about Jesus.
Yeah.
How you handle money tells me what you really believe.
Wow.
Yeah. And I think that the church's teaching on money has either been non-existent or very shallow, or has been around how they can get money into the church, rather than teaching people like, don't store treasures on earth, store treasures in heaven. And if you ask the average person in Bulawayo, what is your heaven balance sheet? It would be very hard for them to say, that's it. And Jesus says, where your treasure is, there your heart is. So our heart is not in heaven if our treasure is not in heaven. So if our treasure is here and we can't say, here's my treasure in heaven, then our heart is here. Yeah. And God goes on and says, your eye is the lamp of the body. Your eye is either good, it's full of light, or the whole thing is death. And I think that this has led to this culture of almost death or thing. And God goes on from that to say, you cannot serve God and money. You will love one and hate the other. So few people can say they hate money because it's actually a system, it's a control, it's a slavery. But people don't feel that they're under that system and slavery. So I think that the church hasn't addressed that. And I think that the addressing of that is through grace, through unmerited favor, through Jesus actually is with us. He genuinely loves me. He genuinely can look after me.
Yeah.
So I don't have to hustle. I don't have to live this life under a slave master of money, which is going to kill me. I actually can be free to fulfill God's purposes and live life to the full. And I think that tying those two things, the lure and slavery of money with the freedom of grace, I think is what we need to shift that culture.
I love that, and I couldn't agree more, actually.
Yeah.
And speaking of just stories, right? Because you and I have always talked about stories, like why the power of stories so important. And we hear a lot of negative stories around generations, politics, church, business. What's a story that breaks the mold that comes to mind for you, where you're like, this is actually something that's full of hope. This is something that I just experienced. This is something that's been recent, where you can combat, where you feel like it's combating all the negative narrative.
We've got a young guy, his name is Brilliant Koza. He actually is gone now as a kind of Zimbabwean missionary to Zambia, which is amazing. And he's leading a massive youth movement with thousands of youth in Zambia.
From Bulawayo?
From Matabeleland.
Cool.
The rural guy from Matabeleland. And I think that for me, a life change moment for him was when he gave $8 of his money that he had made. He was about 22 years old at the time, to some old lady, and he'd never given anything. He felt he was poor. He needed to kind of get, and that changed his life. He always wanted to make money. for himself. He then wanted to make money because the feeling of giving was just so amazing. So that $8 that he gave literally has changed his life. He's become a giver. He's encouraged others to become giver. And as he's become a giver, he gives financially, and he's giving of his life to, and you can just feel God using him to reach literally thousands of young people in Zambia as a result of that turnaround of seeing that.
And from Matabeleland.
From exactly from rural Matabeles. Yeah.
You know, Peter, I've always really respected you.
I'll just give an example. With him, the Permsec for Ministry of Youth for Zambia has used him as an example to the whole of Zambia of the potential of youth, and made him stand up and say, young people of Zambia, this is a challenge. This is what you need to be like. So give me an example.
Wow.
Yeah.
So just to recap that, someone from Matopus who learned how to steward, was under your sort of, I guess, leadership and mentorship, now going to a place where he's seen as someone who a whole nation of youth can look up to. I mean, those are stories that, to me, you can look at a young person and say, that could be you too.
Yes.
That could be you too. And
Exactly.
don't underestimate yourself.
Exactly. Yeah.
I feel like we could talk for so long because you've had so many stories, but just your encouragement to a youth, I want to end with this. Why do you have hope in God's plan for Bulawayo? If you were to if there was a million young people sitting like right here with us, what would you tell them? Why is there hope? And why are they living in a great place? And why do they have something to contribute to?
Amazing. Amazing. You know, the Psalm says that our life is like a whisper in the ages of ages. So our little period of life is a whisper in God's tapestry of history, and the world is changing faster than it has ever changed before across the globe. Africa is changing faster than it has ever changed before. And I think that the future of Africa is in young people finding their identity in Jesus and finding who they are. And I believe that Jesus is doing a real strong reformation revival movement amongst the young people. To be part of that is just got to be the most exciting thing ever. Make me 21 again. Just be part of that generation as opposed to the one that moved on. And I think possibly the analogy for me is like Israelites going into the promised land, is that was the generation. The other generation lost their way in the desert. And there was a generation that God had prepared to say, it's time to move. And I feel that sense of God saying, it's time to move.
And it's great because it's not so far from your immediate family, because you had your dad here, and then there's you, and then your son Joel, who's also just taking a whole new, really type of influence and conversation forward as it relates to young people.
5 times more than me.
Correct.
Me multiplied by 5.
Yeah, and that's your son, and he's a youth considered.
Exactly.
So I just think these more and more stories of people knowing, hey, your family has a future.
Yeah.
Your sons and daughters have a future.
Yeah.
And you guys are living that. And so just wanted to honor you and thank you for that. I know we've run out of time, but if you were to, when you start hearing about all these young people coming together, we're seeing churches come together, young guys, different denominations, business people, artists, dancers. We had a few dancers in here. Does that excite you? Does it stir something in you to say maybe?
More than exciting. For me, it's a catalyst. It's an explosive reaction that Jesus is bringing his body together, and Jesus' body is all different types, and that's what makes us alive. That's what makes us connected with him. So more than excited. I think that's going to be amazing to see what God does.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I like what you said, 21 again.
Exactly.
I'll also take that too.
Exactly.
I'm getting older. Peter, thank you.
No, thank you, and thank you for what you're doing for Bulawayo, and exciting days.
Thank you.